More homes are hitting the market in Lake Geneva, but buyer demand is still strong and they're paying closer to asking price. That's not what most people are expecting right now. So what's actually happening? The market has become more selective. Activity is concentrated around homes that feel like they have more value. And that matters because we're not in a market where everything has been sold just because there's low inventory. Buyers are becoming more strategic and sellers really have to understand the nuances of that. We're in a seller's market that's less advantageous to sellers because, as you can see, the months of inventory has jumped. In Warwick County, it's moved from 3.09 to 3.75. In Lake Geneva, it moved from 3.58 to 3.75. That's actually a meaningful shift up. I was just at a broker meeting and somebody made the comment, well, we're in the seller's market. Well, yeah, we are because we're under 4 months of inventory. But while the leverage hasn't changed, the strength of that has. And that matters because a market has more breathing room, which means that sellers are slowly losing their control and advantage. Active listings have increased. In Warwick County, it's gone from 250 to 308. In Lake Geneva, from 31 to 35. There are more sellers entering the market. And compared to this month last year, Warwick County is up by about 20%. Now, this is where it gets very interesting. It's still not enough inventory for a full leverage shift towards the buyers. And this is especially relevant if you're thinking about selling your home this year. There's more competition for sellers during this time of the year right now than there has been since 2022. So for buyers, you have much more breathing room and much more options. For sellers, unless you're priced right and have multiple offers, expect to be wheeling and dealing. We've had a seller who was motivated, but she wasn't motivated enough to just give away the home. The buyer was countering super hard. And I finally said to the other agent, this is their lowest and best. Take it or leave it. They took it. Homes are still moving fairly quickly. The days on market in Warwick County moved from 38 days to 42 days, and in Lake Geneva, down to 22 days. That's pretty fast, especially with the normal range in Warwick County being between 40 and 70 days. So we're operating in the faster end of a normal range, but active listings are still going up. So what's actually happening? There are fewer casual buyers. The buyers that remain, they're more selective, they're more qualified, they're more decisive, and they're serious. So when the right home hits the market, it moves fast. It's more of a quality over quantity kind of market. Kind of like dating. The way it should be anyway. Quick story. I had 2 listings go live. One, a condo in Lake Geneva within walking distance of downtown. The other was a 1970s modular home on a steel chassis. Which one do you think got the most attention? The Lake Geneva condo, right? Nope. The modular home did. My phone would not stop ringing about it. When I was there, people were driving up and constantly asking questions about it. Guess which one is under contract right now? The modular home. Now here's what sellers need to hear. The seller of the modular home, they were realistic about following a pricing strategy that I recommended. The condo seller, she got emotionally anchored to a higher price because a nosy next door neighbor who wanted to drive up the price of her condo kept insisting that the condo should be priced for $35,000 more than what I recommended. And the market, it responded exactly how you think it would. It's still in the market with only a handful of showings. I learned something from this. The market will forgive conditions, but not overpricing. The moral, the right price creates activity. Ego will kill it. Even in this market, for the right home, buyers are not skimping out on prices. Warwick County jumped to 98.4% sales to list price ratio. And in Lake Geneva, it's at 99.8. That's essentially full asking price offers on average. Here's why that matters. Buyers are negotiating less, not because they don't want to and not because they can't, but because they don't need to. The right homes are commanding confidence, and confidence drives up price. The median price of homes in Warwick County is about $432,000. In Lake Geneva, $630,000. Prices are still holding strong, and here's why that matters. Higher inventory isn't pushing prices down. Qualified buyers are still supporting the value of the property. And that's a very different market than what most people expected this year. Against all geopolitical odds, the mortgage data is quietly turning positive. Mortgage purchase application rates have jumped 10% week over week and 12% year over year. Now, this is where it gets important. This is a forward-looking indicator. It predicts buyer activity roughly 30 to 90 days out, which means buyer demand is building again. And honestly, buyer demand never really left. Economic uncertainty is what put a temporary lid or damper on it. Mortgage rates are driving buyer behavior. At around 6%, demand is going to go through the roof. At about 6.25%, it's going to stabilize. Around 6.6 and above, it's going to really soften and slow demand down. Above 7%, demand is going to plummet. Here's why that matters. Right now, we're right back into a workable zone, and it's one of the reasons why mortgage rate applications are climbing back up again. Inflation and widespread rising costs are starting to crack down on homeowners. Foreclosures just hit a 6-year high nationwide, up 26% year over year. Now, before anyone starts to panic, this is not like 2008. It's still relatively low historically, but it's now a cost to household pressure story. Property taxes are up, insurance is up, HOA fees are up, so is gas and groceries. And for some homeowners, the monthly ownership costs are starting to stack up faster than they expected. Here's why that matters. The pressure is no longer about just mortgage rates. It's everything around it. We're not seeing distressed properties hitting the Walworth County area, but we are seeing it in adjacent counties. So it's something that smart buyers and sellers are going to want to keep an eye on, because price pressures force decisions, and those decisions create opportunity or risk, depending on how prepared you are. The Geneva Lakes area market is quietly separating strategy from emotion. The sellers who are winning right now, they're realistic, they're prepared, and they're positioned properly with their prices. The sellers that are struggling, they're anchored to yesterday's prices. And here's why that matters. Buyers still want properties in and around the Lake Geneva area. They never went away. Demand is still there. The buyers, they're no longer chasing inventory. They're chasing confidence, value, and certainty. And the market is rewarding sellers who understand that shift. If you've been thinking about buying or selling and haven't started yet, this is the right time to reach out. Make your next move legendary.